What's poppin', everybody? Welcome back to Wire2Wire Sports Podcast, episode 174. I'm the NFL genius, Gene Walzak, fresh cut, looking fly, ready to rock and roll for some Super Bowl preview. In the upper left corner, we got Kent State's own, Cleveland's own, College Cottrell.
Well, gentlemen, we have reached the time of year where the football season is about to come to a conclusion. How are you guys feeling this Wednesday?
Jack for the Super Bowl. I'm a little sad that football is going to be over, but at the same time, you know, we're about to hit the home stretch for not the home stretch, but halfway NHL, NBA. You got pitchers and catchers around the corner. A lot going on in the sports world. Still a busy time of year.
Very busy time of the year. You got March Madness around the corner, NBA All-Star Weekend. We got a lot of different things headed our way in the right direction. We have some new segments coming on the show, a couple new shows starting soon. I'm fired up, man. The NFL season, I'm ready for it to be over. I hate saying that, right? Like I love the fact that like NFL, I'm a big NFL guy, the NFL genius, but the two teams we got stuck with for this Super Bowl, I'm not really thrilled about. I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm gonna watch the Super Bowl because I'm an absolute degenerate. But I know who's going to win, and that annoys me. And if I'm being completely honest with you, it's the two teams I probably would least likely, outside the Cowboys, would least want to see in the Super Bowl. I don't want to see either one. Tired of seeing Pat Mahomes. Tired of seeing that Travis Kelce might retire. Taylor Swift. Tired of it. I'm so tired of listening to Deebo Samuel talk. And Nick Bosa, listen, I'm telling you something right now. It's not the 49ers I hate, because I really like a lot of the players. Like, I went through it earlier. I'm like, I like Fred Warner. I like Dre Greenlaw. I like Christian McCaffrey. I like Brandon Ayuk. I like George Kittle. If Trent Williams was on my team, I'd love him.
True.
I don't mind Javon Hargrave. I hate Nick Bosa, and I cannot stand Deebo Samuel. But let me not skip ahead. In the upper right corner, I got Scholastic Shalley, Uncle Shalley, Mr. William Shallcross.
Gentlemen, we're going to have a fun show tonight.
I'm fired up. I'm EA Sports. I'm in the game.
It's going to be fun. I'm really looking forward to the question part, and then obviously this is going to be kind of more of a free-flowing type of show. So this will be fun once we get out of football.
Damn, once we get out of football, I can't. That feels weird. I don't want to say that. But I really do want to break down the Super Bowl. I got some really cool prop bets for you guys. I talked. I already know how long the Super Bowl national anthem is going to be. I know how many songs Usher is doing. I've seen his set. And I already got a preview of what the Gatorade bath is going to look like. So, like, I got stuff for you guys. Not just regular props. I got the outlandish stuff that will help you win your little pools that you do at someone's house. And we are still selling brackets. We're almost sold out. So if you want little Super Bowl block pools, you got to send me $10. Send me 40. Get 4 pool. Like, send some money, right? Send it in. Wire2Wire Sports Pod. P-O-D at the end. Pod. If you send it to Wire2Wire Sports, I'm taxing you when I send the money back to you. Because that's the taxable account, dummies. So I'm sending there. Like 5 or 6% it there. But we got a lot to get into. Let's start by breaking down the Super Bowl. The Kansas City Chiefs versus the San Francisco 49ers. There's 40 of them. They're all whiners. Let's talk about the game. Let's talk about what we expect. And then we'll give our predictions and we'll talk about how we think the game's going to go. But the way I wanted to do it was San Francisco's offense versus Kansas City's defense. Kansas City's offense versus San Francisco's defense. And then a full breakdown of the game. We'll do a little coaching involved and things of that nature. So let's start with San Francisco's offense versus Steve Spagnuolo's defense. Right away, I'm going to give you 2 props. I don't mean to. It's accidental. But I'm going to give you 2 props because I feel like I know the game plan for Kyle Shanahan. He's going to make sure he gets the ball in the hands of one of the best players, and that's Christian McCaffrey. Steve Spagnuolo has shown you all postseason that he is going to blitz. He is going to send the house. He's going to send exotic blitzes at you. And Kyle Shanahan has two choices. He's going to, A, max protect. Let's get Ayuk and Debo and man coverage and see what we can do there. Or B, he's going to have to design plays that will allow you to sneak out of the backfield. I love Christian McCaffrey over on receptions and over on receiving yards in this football game. I think they're going to screen pass, dump the ball off to him, slip screens all day. I think that'll slow down the Kansas City blitz and pass rush. I love that start, right? I think Kyle Shanahan's design is going to be to run the football with McCaffrey, and they're going to run him into the ground. This might be the death of Christian McCaffrey. Like, he might touch the ball 35 times this football game. That's the way I see it. Cottrell, how do you see San Francisco's offense attacking the Kansas City defense?
So, I mean, you gave us the prop bet of CMC. I'm going to bounce it right back to you. I do think you're going to see a lot of CMC in the pass game because I ultimately think, Spags has shown pretty much all postseason. He's going to try and take one thing away from you. And I think if anything for this San Francisco 49ers team, he's going to try and take away CMC getting the explosive run from them. I love under 91.5 rushing yards for CMC because I do think he's going to be very involved in that passing game. I do think he is going to catch a lot of screens and things like that. I do think they are going to try and slip him out, put him into motion a lot and things like that, because I think they want to take advantage of that matchup, whether it be Bolton on him or Willie Gay on him in that Chiefs linebacking core. Makes a ton of sense to get him involved in that rushing, in that receiving attack. But I truly think that the Chiefs are going to try and stop that run. Now, with that said, I also think you're going to see a lot of chess being played in this matchup. I truly think the Chiefs are going to run a lot of man coverage in this game. And outside of L'Jarius, obviously L'Jarius Sneed's great on the outside. You got McDuffie in the slot, who's been playing phenomenal this year. I really think at some point the 49ers, probably early on, while they're still on script, they're going to have a lot of man beaters, and it's going to work well for them. But I do think the Chiefs are going to make their adjustment as well. And I think that's really when we're going to see, how much Kyle Shanahan can adjust on the fly and make those changes in that offense.
Shally, how do you see the San Francisco offense matching up against the Kansas City Chiefs defense?
I agree a lot with what both of you guys already said. I think C-Mac is maybe the biggest key to the game for Kyle Shanahan. Kansas City, I mean, listen, it's no secret Kansas City's rush defense is terrible. Spags is going to have to designate somebody or do something to counteract that if San Francisco can run the ball early. If he's got to start bringing extra guys or blitzing, like you both said, screen game is dangerous for San Francisco because it only takes one play. You get a couple of those linemen, as well as Debo, Ayuk, and George Kittle block downfield. If you get C-Mac slipped out on one of those and you brought too many guys, that can be a 60, 70-yard touchdown pass real quick. I think one of Shanahan's biggest strengths is kind of like Cottrell said. He likes to play chess. He likes to manipulate matchups to his favor, and he's very good at it. I think you'll see a lot of, especially early in the game, I think you'll see a lot of C-Mac start in the backfield, and then like Cottrell said, they're going to motion him out and see who follows them and go that route. I also agree with Gene. I love his over for catches and over for receiving yards for the game for that reason, because I think if they can get him out, put him in the slot, or even put him out even wider and get him on a huge mismatch, I think you're going to see Brock Purdy look for him a lot, especially early in the game. Get him in a rhythm, get him comfortable. I think this is going to be a test for Kansas City's defense. I really believe that. I think they have, I think they've had a little bit of a luxury of playing teams that don't have necessarily elite weapons across the board. Baltimore, they had Zay Flowers. Mark Andrews was nowhere near 100%. People could say what they want. And then obviously Buffalo, Josh Allen's great. They shut Stephon Diggs down. Like Cottrell said, they're going to take their one thing away. San Francisco is different in that they have weapons everywhere. I mean, you take C-Mac away, you're not going to be able to take Ayuk, Debo, and George Kittle away. You're not going to be able to take them all away. And it's, Shanahan's got a lot of things at his disposal. I think if he stays aggressive, which I think is is one thing very important to see. You know, the longer this game goes and it's close, how aggressive does Shanahan stay? You know, did he learn his lesson from the Atlanta New England game? Does he stay aggressive and not try to sit on a lead if he has one? I think it's all stuff to watch. I think it's going to be very important. But I think as long as Brock Purdy can stay within himself and not, you know, not get into the you know, behind the chains in the third and really long situations, and he can stay and play within himself, I think San Francisco has a pretty clear advantage over Kansas City's defense.
So I kind of want to touch on a couple of things that I've seen, and I think that if you look at the way this postseason's been so far, the Kansas City Chiefs have been hot starters, and the San Francisco 49ers have been slow starters. I think it's really important what that halftime score is. I don't think San Francisco needs to be in the lead. I think they need to be within 3. I think that the 49ers have to be within 1 possession of the Kansas City Chiefs at halftime to win this football game. I think if Kansas City starts, Andy Reid's always known as a preparation coach. You give him an extra week, he's great with it. You guys know his record off the bye. That's who he is. The 49ers have started both their postseason games slow versus Green Bay and versus, you know, obviously last week versus or 2 weeks ago versus Detroit. Both teams jumped on. You get a week off, you kind of see what happens. I like Andy Reid in the preparation game a little bit more now, like Kyle Shanahan. But when the dust settles, I think the 49ers offense is way too talented to be slowed down by the Kansas City Chiefs defense. I believe that. Now, other side of the ball, we go to 49ers defense versus Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs offense. When you look at this matchup, if you pulled the best player off both teams and we're just like, all right, let's remove Patrick Mahomes and Fred Warner, it's a complete mismatch.
That's a bloodbath.
Complete mismatch. But the X factor in the game is you have the best quarterback in the world playing quarterback for the Kansas City Chiefs. Like, I don't think Kansas City matches up well with them anywhere. Travis Kelce is great, but I love the middle of the field of Fred Warner and Dre Greenlaw. I love what they'll be able to do to make Patrick Mahomes have to go over the top with Travis Kelce instead of throwing underneath. They're going to hit him. And I think that the Kansas City Chiefs offense needs to be able to run the football. You've seen the success that Detroit had with motion, misdirection with Jahmyr Gibbs, Jamison Williams. You're going to have to see a lot out of Isaiah Pacheco, and you're going to have to see a lot of motion. And Andy Reid's good with this, right? So what the Baltimore Ravens did was they ran zone. And Kansas City picked them apart when they ran zone. They went 4 yards, 3 yards, 4 yards, 3 yards. Baltimore switched to man, and Andy Reid is one of the best in the world at running motions to beat man. So you really have to keep the 49ers defense guessing with misdirections, counter plays, getting their defense running one way and going the other, using their speed against them. Andy Reid's got to get creative here. And in order to move the football, you're going to need Pat Mahomes to have a great day. Rashee Rice to be able to beat single coverage. And you're going to need Travis Kelce to figure out a way to have a day like he's had the last 2 weeks. It's like he's hit the fountain of youth. Versus Buffalo and Baltimore, he's looked like a different guy. Come playoff times, Travis Kelce looks like Travis Kelce old. I don't think he can do that versus Greenlaw, versus Warner, versus the 49ers defense. And I think that Steve Wilks' number one game plan is, you said it with Kansas City trying to take away Christian McCaffrey running the football. I'm going to say it, if Steve Wilks' number one goal is not to stop and take away Travis Kelce with Taylor Swift out there in the stands and everything he's been doing, you're not paying attention. That's got to be the number one objective. Before stopping Isaiah Pacheco, before slowing down Rashee Rice, you have to stop Travis Kelce. So I think that Andy Reid's going to run a lot of misdirections. They're going to run a lot of trick plays, a lot of motion, and they're going to try to get that 49ers defense off balance. That's the way I see it. Shally, how do you see the 49ers defense matching up with the Chiefs offense?
Again, I agree with a lot of what you said. I think we both look at this game kind of in a very similar fashion. I think you look at the game plan that, Shane Steichen used last year for the Eagles in the NFC Championship game. And that's kind of what it was. It was use your speed against them, get them going one way, and just go the other way. And then when they counteract that, then you just overload the other side and you actually go to that side. I think Pacheco's got to have success early. I do agree with you on that, because if he does, then I think Kansas City's got a chance. I think the biggest thing that San Francisco has to do, and I think they will do with Ward and company, or Warner and company in the middle, I don't think they're going to let Travis Kelce have success over the middle, which is where he really likes to live. I don't think anybody thinks he's going to constantly run seam routes and outrun that linebacking core. They're going to make him work outside the numbers, which is not their their A game plan. I do agree with you though. Andy Reid is the man is a master of adjustments, and I think he's got stuff up his sleeve to if they can move the ball successfully at the beginning of the game to really keep San Fran off balance and get guys in space to make plays. It's. I think it's going to be tough, but you said the number one thing that is really important. He has the best quarterback on the planet in his huddle. Guy gets up for big games. Travis Kelce, like you said, is if you look at Travis Kelce's playoff games for the last 4 years, it's insanity. The numbers he puts up for a tight end, in playoff games. I think there's only out of the last 11 games, he's only not scored once in one game, and he's got multiple touchdowns in 4 or 5 games. Gene's right. This is what it's going to be. That offense, as it always has been, goes through Kelce and Mahomes, and that's what they're going to lean on. You've seen it the last 2 weeks. With all the hoopla with Taylor, I don't care about all that. They went back to their bread and butter the last 2 weeks, and that's why they're in the Super Bowl. They went back to Mahomes to Kelce. They sprinkle a little Pacheco, and it's been enough. I think they're playing a super talented defense. That's quick, that can cover sideline to sideline, but it can also to Gene's point, can be a little over aggressive, and they can be got with certain things. And Andy Reid knows that, and Andy Reid will game plan for that. It's going to be interesting. I think the other big matchup, honestly, we've seen how Patrick Mahomes is great at improvising, but that being said, he is most effective when he can sit there and read something and tear it apart. I'm curious to see how well Kansas City's offensive line holds up against that defensive line of San Francisco. If they can get pressure with Bosa and we're assuming Hargraves and all those guys are going to be, I think, a little bit more motivated than they were last game. If they can get pressure with 4, then I think Kansas City's in a lot of trouble. Because I think with what they have behind them, that makes life for Patrick Mahomes very difficult. But if they got a blitz, and they can't get any pressure on him, and they're going to let him sit back there, he's going to pick them apart. So it's going to be a cat and mouse game for sure in that aspect as well. I think it's a very big matchup that a lot of people aren't talking about, that is going to have a direct outcome on the game.
Yeah. Cottrell, your thoughts?
So, I think, a lot of what you guys are saying makes a lot of sense. Like, I do think the 49ers game plan coming into this game is definitely going to be to slow down Travis Kelce. I think that should be your number one priority. But we also got to remember, the last time this 49ers team took the field against that Lions team, Sam Laporta had 9 catches for almost 100 yards. So it's very possible to pick your spots to put Travis Kelce in a position where he could take advantage of those one-on-one matchups. Now, of course, Sam Laporta is not the number one guy over there in Detroit. So, they probably didn't focus on just taking him completely away. But I do think ultimately what that tells me is once Kansas City gets those matchups and find those right matchups, there will be places for Travis Kelce to pick his spots and take advantage and get those big plays. And I think you guys hit the nail on the head as well. This is going to be a big time factor in the game as well. Motions will be everything for this Kansas City Chiefs offense. Whether it's getting McCole Hardman or MVS in some jet sweeps or things like that, we saw how successful the Chiefs were in the Super Bowl last year with that same receiving core that they had. They had no world beaters on the outside, and not to mention, they didn't even have Rashee Rice yet. So you saw Sky Moore
get Juju. Let's not forget he was there.
What is Juju though?
He's better than Rashee Rice is.
I disagree.
Okay.
Juju, look at the numbers. Look at the numbers.
I will.
Juju, since he's been out of Pittsburgh in that number 2 spot, has been nothing. You saw he was number 1 guy with the Patriots, nothing now. But regardless, Sky Moore getting those touches, like it's going to be a lot of Andy Reid getting these guys open and them just taking what the defense gives you. I also think, like Bill said, they have to be successful early in the rushing attack. If I'm Kansas City, every single time I run the ball, I'm running the ball to Chase Young's side. Chase Young, is great of a talent as he is, he looks so disinterested in stopping the run the whole playoff so far. I would just kind of wear out his will. I'd run the ball to him every play, and I'd make sure one of my guards is getting up to Fred Warner, because Fred Warner is as great of a player as he is. If he's not beating you at the line of scrimmage, then you're going to be in for a lot of big plays on that side of the ball. So I'd make sure I'm getting somebody up to Fred. I know it's a tough task, easier said than done, but I'm running the ball every single time to Chase Young's side because he looks so disinterested in the run. I think the Chiefs can have some success there. And if you're having success in the run game and you let that open up some play action and let you take some shots, then I think, the world is Andy Reid's oyster at that point. Every single play in their playbook is going to be at their disposal. So while I think matchup-wise, obviously San Francisco has way more talent on their defense than what Kansas City does, I do think you've seen enough from that San Francisco defense, and you've seen what Andy Reid can do in these big games, scheming up plays. I do think they will still have chances to have a lot of success on offense.
I'll say this: either one of or both of your ex-Buckeyes better show up on Sunday. If Kansas City can neutralize Bosa like the Eagles did last year, and Chase Young just wants to run around like he doesn't give a damn, then San Fran might be in a little bit of trouble. Those guys have to show up. Like, you have to hear their names on Sunday night. If you're hearing their names a lot and they're in Patrick Mahomes' face and they're chasing him around, then it's probably really good for San Francisco. If they're quiet and they're getting neutralized or they're getting stopped one-on-one, I think Kansas City's odds go up exponentially.
I want to talk about this real quick because I think this is really important. Brett puts, if the 49ers fall behind like they did the last 2 games, game's over. Coming back against the Packers and Lions is much different than trying to come back against Mahomes. 49ers got to take care of the football. So let me give you my insight on this, and it's real important that we talk about this part. The Detroit Lions and the Green Bay Packers, they did not manage the game with the lead well. Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes will have no problem bleeding clock, taking small first downs, and managing the football game. If the Kansas City Chiefs at any point in this football game get up 10 or 14 points, I'm telling you right now, the game is over. Now, do I think that will happen? No. But I think the Kansas City Chiefs will literally death by 1,000 cuts. They will nickel and dime you and penny you down the field and draining 35 seconds in between every single play. And they will manage the clock with the lead much better than what the Detroit Lions and Green Bay Packers did.
That's basically what you saw in the AFC Championship game. I mean, a lot of people talk about how the Chiefs didn't score in that second half, which is, a true testament to Baltimore's defense, but they were taking up a lot of time in that second half. Like, they were having sustainable drives. They just weren't putting the ball in the end zone or putting points up on the board, but they had that lead and they had that luxury. So, I mean, it makes a lot of sense for them to do that.
I think 10's okay as long as they cut it, fairly early in the third quarter. If you get down 14 towards the end of the third quarter, something like that, they're in a lot of trouble. But I mean, that being said, I think you can say the same for the other way as well. I think if San Francisco gets up big and Kansas City start getting desperate on defense, Kyle Shanahan's going to pop a play somewhere.
Kyle Shanahan's proven twice though. In the Super Bowl, 2 different times. When he gets up double digits in that Super Bowl, I don't know what happens to him. He's like, oh, my precious, I can't lose my Super Bowl. Because that's literally what he does. He did it versus Kansas City when they were up 20-10 in the third quarter, and he did it versus New England when they were up 28-3 in that football game.
I think at some point he's self-reflected on that at some point and realized he can't do that. again, especially, Patrick Mahomes is definitely that guy that if you give him an inch and even let him smell blood a little bit to get back in the game, he's going to take advantage of it. I'm not saying you're going to see, San Francisco throwing the ball down the field up 14. I don't think you'll see them, off tackle, punt. I don't think you're going to see that. I think he'll stay somewhat aggressive, and I think if San Francisco is up at the end of the third quarter, I think Kansas City's in just as much trouble if it's the other way around.
I think the one thing that I am kind of excited to see, obviously we've seen it a little bit in the earlier rounds of the playoffs, but with this being the Super Bowl, I'm very curious to see in that situation, let's say they are up. As much as we love CMC and how much, I think he's the best player on that team. I'm interested to see how much leash Kyle Shanahan gives Brock Purdy. Because I think a lot of what we're talking about before was him not trusting Jimmy Garoppolo. Here, obviously, we all think Brock Purdy's a lot better than what Jimmy was. Regardless if you think he's a system guy or you think he's elite, you all think he's better than Jimmy Garoppolo. So I'm very curious to see if they are up in that, late third, early fourth quarter, how much does he say, hey, Brock, we're still going to keep the same offense. I still trust you to make these plays and things like that. Or as opposed to just giving the ball to CMC and, putting the ball in their playmakers' hands as opposed to Brock reading things and making those plays.
Guys, we got to really discuss this. They want to offer us promotion of our channel, viewers, followers, and chatbots. The price is lower than any competitor. The quality is guaranteed. Come on, man. These bots. Just wanted to make fun of that for a second. But, look, I've looked at this 49ers team and I've broken them down week after week after week. The one thing I kind of want to highlight is what Chris West said up here. He said, this game is going to prove how good Brock Purdy is. No, it's not. And here's where I'm at, right? I think that there's a lot of people that watch football, that analyze football, that talk about football. Tons. Just don't want to be wrong, right? I've been on that boat before. I hung on by my last thread to Carson Wentz being elite because I didn't want to be wrong. There's a lot but you got to learn from your mistakes. You have to learn from your mistakes. Do I think Brock Purdy's the top 5 quarterback in the NFL? No. But he's not bottom 5. He's not bottom 10. Knock off the notion. He's an 8-14 guy. That's where he is. That's where he's going to be, guys. And I was proven wrong week 1. And I know the moment. I know the play. They're playing Pittsburgh week 1. Mike Tomlin's designing different blitz schemes to try to throw Purdy off a spot. They're backed up. They're at their own 15-yard line. It's a 3rd and 6. Brock Purdy goes, read 1, not there. Read 2, TJ Watt jumps in front of it. Read 3, dart, 5 yards. Falls forward, first down. He's not as bad as people want to give him credit and say because he's Mr. Irrelevant, that he's not good, and he's just a game manager. He's not as good as some of the people are. He's MVP, he's Tom Brady. Like, he's in between both. He's a good quarterback. And I will give him credit for this. It takes a lot of humility to stand there and learn and do exactly what a coach tells you to do. And not be like, oh, I'm the quarterback. I know what I'm doing. I'm going to check this play, change this play. Kyle Shanahan has found an extension of his brain on the football field. And he's like, listen, if they show this, you do this. If they show that, you do this. And he's been coached up very well. Now, Steve Spagnuolo is 100% one of the most, if not the most, experienced defensive coordinator he's going to go up against, especially in this playoffs. Spags has been there, done that. He's going to have different designs and different schemes. The last time you went against an elite defensive coordinator, you see what happened when they played Baltimore. He went up against a very elite defensive coordinator in Minnesota. Brian Flores threw him right off his game. They lost that football game. There are ways that you can knock him off his game, but regardless of what happens in this football game, it's not going to really change my opinion of Brock Purdy. What he looked like in the second half of last week, it showed me everything I need to see.
I agree with everything you said.
Yeah.
I would say there's two parts of it, though, that I would, I guess, throw out there as a question. And the first part being, I think right now, Brock is the perfect guy to run Shanahan's system. I think we all agree there. But I guess my question would be, if Brock was getting paid more money, I don't even think what we're talking about, right? If he was a higher draft pick, what we're talking about right now isn't even a thing. Like, I think people are associating a lot of how he plays with where he was drafted and, you know, what they think about him from what they saw at Iowa State. So I guess my question would be, and obviously we're not quite there yet because he's still he's in the thick of his rookie deal. But are you comfortable? The first part is, are you comfortable paying Brock Purdy $40 to $50 million to be your franchise quarterback?
No, just like I'm not comfortable paying Tua that money, just like I'm not comfortable paying Daniel Jones that money, like I'm not comfortable paying Kirk Cousins that money. There's only 5 guys in the whole NFL that I'm comfortable paying that type of money to. And those are guys that are going to win regardless of circumstance. They're the Patrick Mahomeses, the Josh Allens, but that's not what he is.
No, and I 100% agree with that, but I guess then that leads me to my second point. If I think right now, 49ers, no matter what happens, Brock Purdy is going to be your starting quarterback for the next 2 years, 49ers fan. Like, that's just, it is what it is with the money that he's making, with what they're spending everywhere. That is going to be what it is. They lose this Super Bowl. Next year, they don't win the Super Bowl. I guess, talent-wise, I think he's much better than what Jimmy was. But for what San Francisco was looking to do in terms of winning, I mean, Jimmy went to NFC Championship game. He went to the Super Bowl. Like, he lost. How different, I guess how disposable would Brock be at that point? Like, by next year, if he doesn't win a ring, are you just saying, hey, it's been great having you as our quarterback, we're going to either draft our next guy or spend a lot of money in free agency, or are you still thinking about giving him the extension because you've seen how he played on the field?
Kyle Shanahan. Go ahead, Bill.
I think it depends how it all goes down, to be quite honest. You know, if they go out Sunday and lose, but he puts up 35 and looks great, but Patrick Mahomes just outplays them and puts up 42, I don't think that's very indicative on Brock Purdy. I think you still have to believe that he's the guy. He goes out Sunday, like Gene says, and has one of these shit-to-bed games against another, elite defensive coordinator who has time to scheme for him and makes him look very average. Then I think maybe you have to start thinking. Because, I mean, listen, you're only going to have that core for a while. So, I mean, it's eventually you have to pay all these defensive guys, these young guys in the secondary that are coming up on deals. Yeah. C-Mac is not going to be able to do what he did this year for another 5 years. And then obviously they already paid Debo. They're going to have to pay Ayuk at some point.
Trent Williams is getting no younger.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, they're going to have to make that decision soon. So I think a lot of it depends on how he plays Sunday and how he plays next year. I'm not paying him $40 million a year, regardless if he wins the Super Bowl this year. I'm not. I think he's a $32 million a year guy. And I think he should be happy with that, playing on a team that's going to be loaded around him with one of, if not the best offensive minds in the league.
Hear me out here. Kyle Shanahan's biggest gift is his offensive mind, right? He's an offensive genius. I'll call him a genius. I think his run scheme and pass scheme is incredible. John Lynch has done an incredible job putting all those pieces together on that team. Kyle Shanahan's biggest weakness is his ego. If Kyle Shanahan doesn't win a Super Bowl this year and next year they get bounced earlier than they expect, it's not going to be on him. Oh, it's got to be Purdy. We're not paying him. We'll get another rookie quarterback, and he'll run my scheme and blah, blah, blah. I think Kyle Shanahan will make that decision. And I think it's up to John Lynch to decide on what they want to do. So I think that Kyle Shanahan's biggest strength is his offensive mind, but his biggest weakness is that ego. I think he needs a little humility, and you could see it in his players, guys. I'm not going to lie to you, man. There's something that rubs me the wrong way about like the way the 49ers handle themselves at press conferences. I would love to be wrong about this football game. They asked Nick Bosa, what do you think about the Kansas City Chiefs offensive line? And instead of saying they're a good unit, I think they get the benefit of grabbing a little bit. He goes, they hold a lot. And I understand why you're doing that. You're trying to get the officials to look for that in the game, but like, no credit. Remember last year, Nick Bosa's comments about Jordan Mailata, about he's just big. He's just big. There's nothing really special. He's just big. I don't like guys that have those type of responses and comments, and it just rubs me the wrong way. I don't like Nick Bosa. I don't like Deebo Samuel. I don't like the way that team cried and made excuses. That's not the type of leaders that I think that I want in my locker room. And you can see how it's rubbing off on Chase Young. I'm not saying Chase Young's, absolved of being lazy. He's not. But it's on tape how that man's not running after the football, and he got benched like for a play or two. They're thinking about sitting him for the Super Bowl. It's evident. And if this team doesn't win the Super Bowl this year, they're the type of team that will be pointing fingers. It's his fault. It's that fault. It's his fault. It's the referee's fault. It's an injury's fault. Chase Young didn't run. They'll do that. They will do that. So if this game does play out to that other side, then I don't think it will, because we're going to get our predictions now. I think that this team has the best unraveling story ever. Like, I love to see it rip at the seams. Just let one of those threads rip and just watch it all come tumbling down.
Gene, I didn't get your answer, though. Are 49ers, do they move on from Purdy after next year? No Super Bowl this year?
I said absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. Kyle Shanahan's ego will get right in the way. Absolutely. Because Kyle won't say it's him. It won't be his fault. The quarterback's not running the scheme the way I want him to. Let's get our predictions on the game, and then we'll get into some fun prop bets. Do you want me to go first or last?
Up to you.
I'll go first. 70. First of all, let me look at the money perspective first. I love following the money. When my mind matches the money, it's almost like I'm almost feel too confident in the football game. 70% of the money is on the Kansas City Chiefs. Yet the spread moved from 1.5 to 2.5. The other way. That's reverse line movement. I hate that if I'm a Chiefs fan. My mind tells me the 49ers are the better football team. What I watch, what my eyes tell me, the 49ers are the better football team. And the money is telling me the 49ers are going to win the Super Bowl. I got it 31-20 San Francisco. I think that Kansas City will struggle to move the ball. I don't think this will be that big of a game down the stretch. I think that this game will end on a 4th down with Patrick Mahomes trying to make a play and coming up short. 49ers taking over, up 31-20, kneeling the football.
Well, I mean, I'm going to say this. If you're a 49ers fan, you should probably run for the hills, because me and Gene almost literally see this game identical. I have 34-23 49ers. I agree a lot with what Gene said. I think over the course of 60 minutes, I think Kansas City playing the first truly elite offensive unit across the board is just going to be too much. I think if the San Francisco 49ers protect the football, Brock Purdy doesn't turn it over, I think over the course of the game, as great as Spags is, I just think they're a guy short defensively. I just think San Francisco has too much talent offensively. I think they're going to be up to the task defensively to, they're going to give up points, but I just think they're the better football team. And I agree with Gene. My mind, my eyes, my heart, my gut, they're all going the same way here. I like San Francisco 34-23.
So this game, obviously, is one of those where I truly can't see it going either way. Now, with that said, going into my prediction, a couple things that I definitely wanted to point out. So in history of football, there's been 4 teams through 19 games that have not allowed over 28 points once their entire season. All 4 of those teams went on to win the Super Bowl. Kansas City right now is at 19 because they played the wild card game, and there's an extra game in their schedule. This would make 20 for them. I'm going to continue on that streak. I do think Kansas City's defense will show up. I got Kansas City winning this game 27-17. I think early on in the game, you will see that 49ers team have a lot of success, but I do think Shanahan will tighten up once that game gets, a little bit close down the stretch, things like that. The other thing that I also kind of want to point out too is that with the Chiefs, I think them being able to run the ball efficiently, I really feel like that is what's going to bleed the clock out. And so I like the Chiefs and I like Patrick Mahomes to get another one, beat Shanahan and in a lower scoring game, but I got 27-17.
Okay. Let's get into some prop bets. We all love prop bets. I have 7. I have 4 football ones and 3 fun ones. I'm not sure how you guys have it broken down. I know Shally said he has 7. How many you got?
I got 8, 5 football, 3 fun.
So let's knock out the fun ones. Let's have some fun. Is that cool?
That's fine.
You have 3 fun ones, Shally?
1. Yeah, I mean, I'm fine. Go ahead.
I have the under 90.5 seconds in the national anthem. I think it goes under. So I'll tell you why. There's a whole breakdown of why I think this, right? So she sang the national anthem one time at Game 3 of the World Series, 1997. Reba McEntire. She did it in 83 seconds. When people get older, they tend to do things a little bit faster. They can't hold the note a little bit as long as they wanted to. I think it goes under 90 and a half, and I think it goes under 90 and a half by a few seconds. I got the under 90 and a half. Give me your first fun one.
Well, I'll get this out of the way because I agree with Gene. This is one of my fun ones. I had an 89 and a half earlier. If it moved to 90 and a half, that's actually scares me a little bit. But 89 and a half, the same. I think based upon how she sang in the past, I think it's under. I actually feel kind of confident in that one. But that being said, Super Bowl sometimes, I don't think she's going to pull a Whitney at the end and hold that note. But, sometimes they embellish a little bit. That worries me a little bit. But Reba's kind of a, I think you're going to get a very traditional version of the anthem, which is what I like. I like a Whitney. Like, I don't like the super overkill. So I think she goes under.
Just to be clear, I have all the stats. Meyer performed the anthem prior to Game 1 of the 80 World Series in Kansas City. She did it in 65 seconds. Before Game 3 of 1987 World Series in Cleveland, she clocked it at 82 seconds. Her first time performing the national anthem before a sporting event was in 1974, the National Finals Rodeo. She did it in 72 seconds. Her other times later were 77 seconds, 80 seconds, and 85 seconds. She did an anthem in 78 seconds prior to a celebrity softball game. She's never done this anthem close to 90 seconds.
If she goes over, the tinfoil hat's going on very early. Very, very goddamn early.
Up at 83 and a half and jump to 90 because people love betting that over.
I know. I think you're going to get a very traditional, to the point, version of the national anthem on Sunday. So I'm comfortable with the under. If not, I'll be looking like Joaquin Phoenix going on tinfoil early.
So my first fun one, I got this one from Bleacher Report, BR Betting. They set the line at 4.5 shots of Taylor Swift during the broadcast. I got the over.
Way over.
Give me the over. I think that's easy money. 4.5, the whole broadcast, Taylor Swift. If the game's a blowout one way or the other, they're going to be looking for filler spots. Travis Kelce makes a big catch. They're going back to the booth. I think Travis has a big game, and I think this is going to be a spot where you see a lot of Taylor Swift on Sunday.
We set the line at 6.5 at my buddy's house for the Bills game.
So the official line, everything I saw, I looked at all these right before I left to work. It's up to 5.5 everywhere. I still love the over. Over 5.5 is at minus 140. Listen, I'm gonna tell you this: as soon as they go on air, all right, you're getting at least 2 shots of her before they even kick the ball.
She's getting there. She gets into the
you got a shot. You got a shot of her walking underneath the stadium somewhere with her entourage, and then they're going to show where she is in the stadium in the booth. That's 2 right there. That's before kickoff. You're two in the bag before kickoff. This is another tinfoil hat for me. If this doesn't hit, this is somebody going out of their way not to show her. And I don't think you're gonna do that.
I think
this is a goddamn lock.
Only way it doesn't hit is if somehow, some way, she gets a little delayed, coming over from Japan, and a little, confusion getting her to the stadium. Maybe she doesn't get her to the second half, something like that.
Got a whole
That's
day.
The only way.
She got a whole day. She's going to be there early. The people that are like this conspiracy theory thing, like they've worked it out with the airplane thing. She's going to be there Sunday morning. She will be in Nevada at some point Sunday morning. She'll probably sleep for a while. There's no way she's not there on time. The plane would have to crash.
Another lock. Another absolute lock. Another absolute lock. I'm going to just skip right over what he just said.
No, I'm not going to. I don't want it to happen.
Yeah,
I'm just saying.
I'm done.
It takes something catastrophic for that to happen for the show.
Within 15 days of don't do that.
Swifties will cancel us so fast.
So another one I have is the over 8.5 songs that Usher will perform. This is an easy one, guys. I don't understand how this is only at 8.5. You tell me what song he's not going to perform. Yeah, My Way, Love in This Club, Burn, You Got It Bad, I Don't Mind, You Remind Me, Nice and Slow, DJ Got Us Falling in Love Again, My Boo. They're all playing. They're all going. Usher's going to go nuts. He might play 15 tracks. Alicia Keys is going to be there. Luda is going to be there. I'm telling you, they're all coming. Over 8.5 Usher.
Well, since you're winning Usher, I'll follow you up here. I got Usher's first song. I do think there's a possibility he starts out hot with Yeah, but I think that's what everybody's expecting.
Yep.
I'm going with the song that has a very recognizable first couple seconds here. Give me Oh My God at plus 800 to be Usher's first song that he performs. Beat drop, whole crowd knows what it is. Go from there, and that's what I got, plus 800.
I love that. I love that.
All right, I saw a fun one. So if you are, I already had a bunch of text messages about, the Waste Management Open. I will give my picks for that at the end, but this is a little bit of insight to it. FanDuel is offering you a cross-sport parlay for Sunday. You got to pick the winner of the football game, and they give you a different option of 2 different golfers to go with, either the 49ers or the Chiefs. I'm going San Fran to win the Super Bowl, and either Scotty Scheffler or Justin Thomas to win the Waste Management Open at plus 550. I think it's a gift. I really do. I think a lot of guys have pulled out of the Waste Management for various reasons. They both notoriously play well there. I got the cross-sport parlay at plus 550.
I like it. I got something for you. I think you guys all do the Gatorade colors with me. I do the Gatorade colors every year. So by the way, I've hit 2 out of the last 3 years with the Gatorade color. I love blue this year. Love it. 2 red teams playing in the Super Bowl. Blue is a lock at plus 450, guys. Lock it in blue. 49ers dumping the blue on Kyle Shanahan. That's your lock of the week.
This might be a record. It's going to take 50 minutes for the first time ever. I've gone 50 minutes in the show disagreeing with Gene, but I'm going against them on the Gatorade color. I think the red is the color of the game. You got Chiefs, 49ers. You know how important it is to Taylor Swift. Red at plus 500. I think there's too much value there. I'm going red Gatorade plus 500 for the win.
Bill, my friend, this is the first time we've agreed this show. I also have red. I got it at plus 490, but I'll take 500 to give me the extra 10.
I'll give it to you.
You got red, both teams. I mean, it's not even the favorite. Red's not the favorite right now. What are we doing here? You got both teams in red. People hate on Fruit Punch Gatorade, and I understand. It's not the greatest flavor there, but it's a classic. I think you have to have it there. All the pictures, you got to have it on both sidelines. You tell your offensive linemen, the reserves that come to dump it, you're like, hey, grab the red Gatorade if you guys win to dump it. All the pictures, all the gear, everything looks cohesive. You got to go red Gatorade here for the Gatorade bath.
I'm going red also because if I had to bet, I would tell you Mike Shanahan's probably in a white jacket, or Kyle Shanahan's in a white jacket Sunday night. Then it just makes too much sense. Andy Reid's not going to be in white.
He's going to be in the red pullover.
He's going to be red. Way White is not a slimming color. Andy Reid will not be in white.
All right, here's your real props, right? I'm gonna knock through all 4 of mine, and then we'll go to Shally, and then we'll go to Cottrell with our real props. Here's my real props. I love the over 33.5 receiving yards, Christian McCaffrey, and I'll add the over 4.5 receptions. Love both. CMC is going to catch a lot of balls in the flat, a lot of screens, a lot of dump offs, a lot of little Texas routes. You understand what the Texas route is? Little Texas route, little L. I love CMC's over in receptions and receiving yards. Another one I love, another over, and I will hit you with an under at the end. Patrick Mahomes over 26.5 rushing yards. 49ers defense is going to get after him. Patrick Mahomes is going to make time and scramble. Guys, go with his legs. He's nimble. Finds ways to move the sticks. Give me Mahomes over 26.5 rushing yards. And then my last one, I got an under for you. A lot of people talk about Deebo Samuel and the jet sweeps and all the. I love the under 16.5 and him rushing yards. I don't think the Chiefs are going to be able to run the ball that often. I mean, the 49ers are going to be able to run the ball that often. I think Spags is trying to stop the run and wants to make Brock Purdy beat you with the arm. I think the under 16.5 for Deebo Samuel rushing yards is an absolute lock. Give me the under, lock it in, 16.5.
All right. For the game, I already gave you my score prediction, but obviously over 47.5. I was shocked when that came out. I know everybody likes both defenses. I think at the end of the day, you're going, you have Patrick Mahomes on one side, a very, very potent, elite skill level players on the other side with Kyle Shanahan. I love the over 47.5. Anytime touchdown score, again, CMC minus 230. Not great value by itself, but if you're going to throw it in a parlay, it's going to give you a bunch of value in a parlay. He scored his last 6 playoff games. I don't see any reason why he doesn't score on Sunday night. Might not be a rush, like Gene said. I think he's going to catch a lot of balls out of the outfield or out of the backfield. I would be shocked if San Fran wins this game and CMC is not one of the touchdown scorers. And then after that, I got a little bit of a change up. First touchdown score, though, I'm going Pacheco. I think I could see him easily, plus 600. I like the value. I think, they get down the goal line as long as they don't score in a longer play. They do like running the ball down, down close to the goal line with him. They give him opportunities to score. So, again, it doesn't have to be a rush. So, as long as he's the first one in the end zone, I like him at plus 600. I think that might be it. Yeah, that's it. That's all I got.
This isn't one of mine, but I do think it would be true Andy Reid fashion to just throw you off. And I think at plus 7, it's either at plus 7,000 or plus 8,000. Got to check again. But Kadarius Toney first touchdown scorer. Like I think that low key has some traction, just because of everything that you keep seeing in the media. He said, she said, kind of thing. Kadarius being who he is. I think that could gain a little traction. But I'll go over my props here real quick. So first one I do think if the Chiefs want to win this game, it will be Patrick Mahomes having a great game. So I do like over 1.5 passing touchdowns for Patrick Mahomes in this game. Like I said, I got the Chiefs scoring 27. I think 2 of those touchdowns will be from Mahomes. Second one I like we mentioned earlier, I do think the Chiefs are going to sell out to stop that run. So I like the under 91.5 rushing yards for CMC. Travis Kelce is at 6.5 reception. I like his over. I think if the Chiefs are going to have sustainable success on offense, Pat is going to go to his safety blanket, and that's going to be Travis Kelce no matter where he is on the field. So I do like his over 6.5 receptions. Next one I like over 7.5 points for Jake Moody. Like I said earlier, I do think the 49ers will have a lot of success earlier on, moving the ball up and down the field. That Chiefs defense is stingy. I do think San Francisco will have to settle for some field goals here and there. So I do like his over 7.5 point mark. And then the last one I like Rashee Rice under 67.5 yards. He's only hit that number 5 times the entire year. I know this is the Super Bowl and you're going to need X factor plays from different players other than just Travis Kelce. But I don't think Rashee Rice is going to go over that 67.5 yard mark. If anything, I think the Chiefs spread the ball a lot around to who's ever open in that spot, not just try and force feed Rice the ball there.
I like a long shot for first touchdown, and my man Tom Gallo just put it in the chat. I like Clyde Edwards-Helaire plus 2,800 for first touchdown. It's plus 2,800, and he just put it in the chat, so it made me want to add that to you guys. conversation. But that's what we got for Super Bowl. Before we wrap up NFL, there was a conversation this morning about T. Higgins and a lot of talk about T. Higgins moving from one team to another. Free agent this offseason. Conversation I wanted to have. And I created a T. Higgins or list just for my friends here to debate T. Higgins or. We'll talk about the Dan Quinn stuff too. We don't want to talk about that too much. A terrible hire. But T. Higgins or. You guys ready? I'm going to start off with what I think is an easy one. T. Higgins or Jalen Waddle.
Before we start answering these questions, is this to be a number one or just regardless?
If you're starting a team and you get one of these two receivers.
To be your number one.
To be your number one or your number two.
Whatever you want to make them.
You're starting a team. This is your guy. You got this pick. You have T. Higgins or Jalen Waddle.
This one's easy for me. I'm Waddle.
Waddle.
I'm waddling like a duck. No doubt in my mind. I think this is another easy one. T. Higgins or Devonta Smith.
Devonta Smith.
Devonta Smith's a better player. I'll go Devonta Smith.
I have Devontae Smith too. Now, I think that I started out easy because I wanted to lead you into the next 6. I think that there's opportunities to go on both sides. So don't go nuts, Kittrell, because you want to say T. Higgins. But I got T. Higgins or DJ Moore.
DJ Moore.
That's a good one.
For me, I think that's an easy one for me.
I'll go with DJ Moore. I think he has parts of his game that T. Higgins doesn't. I'll go DJ Moore.
I agree with you guys all through. Here's the first one where I kind of stopped myself. T. Higgins or fellow free agent wide receiver Michael Pittman Jr.
I'm going Pittman Jr. You think you look the numbers he's put up with what he's had to play with. I would like to see what Pittman Jr. would do with an elite quarterback. I'll say that.
I would too. To be my number one, I'm taking T. Higgins.
I think I'm taking T. Higgins here. Really close, but I think I'm taking T. Higgins. All right, T. Higgins or Puka Nacua.
T. Higgins.
This is like a trap. I'll go Puka.
I'm going Puka too. I love what Puka did this year. I'm taking Puka Nacua over T. Higgins. Next one, T. Higgins. Now I'm going to pull at Kittrell's heartstrings a little bit here. T. Higgins or Chris Olave.
Chris Olave. That's not close.
I agree. I don't think it's close either. I'm going Olave.
I'm gonna pull at Bill's heartstrings a little bit. T. Higgins or Nico Collins. Don't give me the eyes like this isn't close. Nico had a great year with C.J. Stroud.
Nico finally got an elite quarterback to throw him the football. I'm going Nico.
I'll probably take T here.
T easy.
Okay.
No, it's not easy. We'll wait to see where T ends up. I guarantee you, I pray to God we're still in the air 3 years from now, and I guarantee you Nico Collins over the next 3 years has better numbers than T. Higgins.
Last one. And this is where I think he ends up. If it's not Kansas City, I think he ends up here, and you're debating on who's the number one. T. Higgins or Scary Terry McLaurin. Who you want is your number one. Scary Terry's had like 6 years in the league, bro. He's on a downslope.
He's not though. He's consistent. He's low key that Mike Evans consistent 1,000 yards like
he's
every
not
year.
Mike Evans. But...
No, he's not. He's not Mike. I'm saying consistency wise, like one way or another. Like even last year, he had a down year last year. And I looked at his stats and I'm like, how the hell did this guy have 1,000 yards last year? This doesn't make sense.
McLaren falls in the same category for me as Michael Pittman does. The dude's gone through 4 quarterbacks, probably 2 or 3 head coaches, and is still there at the end. I mean, you put him on if you're giving me a choice to put him with an elite quarterback, I would like to see what Terry does. I'll go McLaurin.
I love Terry. Obviously, Ohio State guy. I'm going T. Higgins here. I think T.
Your
Higgins,
love for T. Higgins is wild, bro.
He's a 6'5"
Wild
kid that can catch anything in his radius. Like
that's
I love
never
that
had to
to be
beat a number one ever in his life.
I mean, you could say that about a lot of guys, though. You talk about, I mean, Devonta Smith. He's got AJ now. Like now he's having a lot of success. Jalen Waddle. Like Miami felt like they had to go out and make a move to go get a better receiver. So I mean, some of the guys we've talked
That's
about
not because of Waddle. It's because
situations.
Tua stinks.
I mean, you could
Just keep it 100. Let's just keep it 100.
And
nothing to do with Jalen Waddle. That had everything to do with Tua.
I don't disagree. Tua got him the ball though. He got him the ball a lot. I'm just
I
saying.
decided to add a bonus one for you guys
If
because
you give T. Higgins 100 receptions, he's gonna have 1,400 yards.
I mean, I'm saying I listen to you,
discussion
and
with everybody.
I think Cincinnati should keep T. Higgins and almost get rid of Jamar Chase. Like Jesus Christ.
All right, if that's the case, then get rid of AJ Brown. Let Devontae go be your number one. You drafted him. Why'd you go out and spend $20 million on a receiver?
All right, perfect. Take Jamar Chase off Cincinnati and take AJ Brown off the Eagles. Who is having a better year, Devonta Smith or T. Higgins?
Well, Devontae, we already said that though.
I'm taking T. In that situation, as number ones, I'm taking T.
No,
put me in the lobby. I'm out of here.
Did you not watch what Devontae Smith did that one game in the playoff game when he was the number one and AJ didn't play?
You talking about against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers this year? That game?
Yeah. 9 for 165.
I mean, that's
the defense knew that they were throwing them.
You think T. Higgins is a better wide receiver than Devonta Smith?
No.
So why would you take him over him then?
As a number one, I want to give me the 6'5" guy that can play on the outside that I could throw jump balls to. And
T. Higgins is the poor man's Alshon Jeffrey. That's what he is.
You keep saying that, but that's not what he is. You see, once you see him go to a team and he can go be a true number one, or you pair him with another questionable number two guy, you're going to see him flourish. Let him get 90 receptions. Look at the numbers.
There is not a better position in the world for him to be in than he is right now.
He's playing great.
Where he's never going to get double, and he has Joe Burrow throwing the football.
And he's playing great. He's playing great.
And Devontae's still better. Devontae's still better.
He's also getting more targets. Is my point. I do think Devontae's better. Devontae's getting more targets.
All right. I added a bonus. I added a bonus one because I know how much you guys like this guy, and I know you guys know that he hasn't had a quarterback yet in his career. This is a bonus one. Going forward with a brand new quarterback, let's just say they both go to the Kansas City Chiefs.
Okay.
T. Higgins or Drake London?
Oh, T. Higgins. Come on. I don't know what Drake London is yet.
See, I'm taking T in this one too.
I think I'm taking T too, but I just wanted to add it because I know how much you guys love Drake London coming out.
I just don't know what Drake is though at this point. Like 2 years.
I agree, and I'm not saying Drake doesn't have that next thing, but we just haven't seen it yet, and some of it might be his fault, some of it isn't. I mean, some of it we know is not his fault. To that degree, I mean, we have seen what T can do. So it's
all right. Can I go nuts? T. Higgins or Marvin Harrison Jr.?
This is easy for me. This is so
Marv.
easy for me. It's Marvin Harrison Jr.
Yeah. All right, just making sure we're on the same page. All right,
wait. Who should I take?
So I'm taking Marvin.
Yeah, right. No doubt about it. I didn't even have to ask Kittrell.
That's because he went to Ohio State. If
Marvin
Harrison Jr. went to like USC, he'd be like T. Higgins.
I'm taking T over Terry, and Terry went to Ohio State too. So
we got to give quick conversation to the terrible head coaching hire that the Washington Commanders made in Dan Quinn, which, by the way, I'm super happy that the Commanders made this hire. It's great for us. Awesome hire for the Philadelphia Eagles. Dan Quinn is the new head coach of the Washington Commanders. Guys, I'm not going to do this again. I'm not going to do it again. I was very happy with the offseason that we had with, we got a lot. We got a lot accomplished. Raheem Morris, new head coach in Atlanta. Antonio Pierce, new head coach, Las Vegas. We had Gerard Mayo hired in New England. We got a lot accomplished this offseason. Eric Bieniemy is not a head coach. Brian Flores is not a head coach. But we have retread Dan Quinn, who had one good season with Kyle Shanahan as his OC. Are we serious right now? Eric Bieniemy was in the building. He was there, hanging out, helping Sam Howell throw for more passing yards than anyone in the NFL through 16 weeks.
I think you left out the worst part of it is not only did Eric Bieniemy, from all accounts, really not get a serious look, he's not even employed right now.
Well, he'll be employed. Everyone's talking about that. He brought that up. He'll be employed. I think
I get it, but it's the point is you are, for all intents and purposes, you brought in a defensive guy to be your head coach. You have a Super Bowl proven winning, not only in Kansas City, like you said. Hey, all right, you know what? I'll go prove myself somewhere else. I'll get away from Patrick Mahomes. I'll go prove myself somewhere else. Goes to Washington and turns Sam Howell into, I don't care how you want to cut it, not an elite, but a respectable, a more than respectable NFL starter. And you're going to go draft a rookie quarterback. Let's make no bones about it. They're drafting either Drake May or Jaden Daniels. That's who they're going to take. And you let Eric Bieniemy walk out the door? Are you serious? I hope Washington doesn't win a freaking football game next year. I don't. That's a joke. That's a joke. Brian Flores didn't get a head coaching job. He get fired, though. He didn't get fired. He's still the defensive coordinator. You let a Super Bowl guy, and not to mention, he's the guy that helped develop Patrick Mahomes with Andy Reid, and you don't retain him? You're nuts. You're nuts. Whatever. I don't know what to talk about anymore. It's retarded.
Oh, we have to. We have to talk about it because Dan Quinn got hired, and Mike Rabel was too intimidating in the interview process. Did you hear this report? Mike Rabel was too intimidating. He was scaring people because of his size. Are you guys serious right now? That was really a report.
That's part of it, but I'll tell you what you got to read between the lines is what that is. Mike Rabel went into interviews and was like, "I'm not going to play the political BS game." That's what that is. Yeah. That is, I know football. Look what I just came from in Tennessee with my quarterback situation and everything else. I'm not going to play the games. I know who can play and who can't. And if you guys want to be the guys behind the scenes making all the decisions on personnel, then I don't want to be here.
And I mean,
that was intimidating.
You saw that come out though with Ben Johnson. Like Ben Johnson, the reports from his side came out that after meeting with them, obviously, he wanted more money, but he had said like, I'm a football guy. Like I'm in this room with all these, Magic Johnson's basketball guy and all these other execs that don't have expertise in football. Yep. And I'm the football guy, and I don't necessarily want their input when it comes to things that are football related. So I don't hate the Dan Quinn hire though as much as you guys do. I do think Dan Quinn can turn around.
Yeah, I'm ecstatic. What are you talking about?
I mean, of course, in division, and you get away from the Cowboys running that defense, but I think Dan Quinn can work with that Washington Commanders defense and then bringing in Cliff Kingsbury to be your OC. Obviously,
I love it.
Obviously, he wasn't a great head coach, but I do think he can call plays offensively. And I do think if Washington is in a spot where they want to be super aggressive and try and go get Caleb Williams, or I would pick Jaden Daniels in that spot.
You want to talk about a guy that has a golden horseshoe up his ass? It's Cliff Kingsbury. He's got a golden horseshoe up his ass.
The
guy's literally made his whole career. He coached Patrick Mahomes at Texas Tech, Kyler Murray at Arizona, and now he's going to get Caleb Williams. Are you freaking serious right now?
I don't think he's going to get Caleb Williams.
I think he is.
I don't think so. I don't think so either. I do think Chicago's going to take him. But I mean, if that's the case, though, I mean, if I'm Washington, why not think about trading down and seeing what it takes to get Justin Fields? Like if you can get him with a second round pick, I think that would make a ton of sense too.
Yeah.
I actually think Kingsbury's a good. I think that's perfect for him. I think he's a better OC. He's not a guy that's built correctly.
When has he been a successful OC
to lead a team? My point is, I think when he has less responsibility, I just think he's a better coordinator, head coach. Is what I'm saying. Okay. With that being said, if you give anybody the choice, hey, do you want Eric Bieniemy or do you want Cliff Kingsbury? That's an easy choice, and you let the guy walk out the door. That's nuts to me. And I think you heard it from Rabel, Johnson. I think Washington. I think that ownership group is listening to the wrong people, and they're not going to give control to the right people. And that franchise is going to look next year just like it did under Dan Snyder for the last 10 years. You won't have all the BS going on in the front office of the sexual harassment and everything. I'm going to tell you right now, the results on the field are not going to change. If you're bringing Johnson in to possibly be your head coach, the guy who just literally resurrected Jared Goff's career and you're going to walk in and tell that guy who you're taking and who you're going to coach, I'm not taking that job either. Magic Johnson's great. If I was running a basketball franchise, I'll listen to everything that man says about drafting guys and evaluating talent. I'm not going to listen to him who to take about a goddamn NFL quarterback, though. I'm not. I wouldn't have took the job either.
Magic took Alonzo over Tatum. Why would Ben Johnson trust his football knowledge?
That's a fair point. It's a very good point.
Guys, we got to move on to some NBA conversations. We have a lot to get into. We have Ask Us Everything. So we have the questions. We have a bunch of questions that came through in the chat. One I'm definitely answering tonight. Even if we only get to one, we're answering the one because I love when people ask me this question. But we got our mid-season awards, NBA. And the trade deadline's tomorrow. So we want to talk about that on some guys that might get moved tomorrow. Just little projections. Let's start with the NBA awards, though. Let's start with the awards. Okay? What are we starting with, Kittrell? I think we're starting with Rookie of the Year. Yep, Rookie of the Year. So I've changed my stance. I was a Chet guy. I'm on the Victor boat right now. The guy's incredible. He's an alien. I love watching him play basketball. He's entertaining. And if the I treat it mid-season awards, that if the season stopped today, not my projection, the season stopped today.
Correct.
So I'm going Victor Wembanyama. Guy's averaging like 4 blocks a game.
I also got Wemby here. I think right now it's pretty clear cut. Chet's having a great year too. I think in a lot of other years, Chet's your runaway favorite right now for Rookie of the Year. But we were discussing a few weeks ago between Victor and Chet when they played each other, and I just think at this point Victor has pulled himself, enough away. Even with the Spurs not winning their games, he's done enough on the court for me to say that not only do I think he should win Rookie of the Year, I told you guys I thought he was one of those sleeper guys to potentially make an all-star spot. And I didn't think he quite deserved it yet, but I thought he was in that mix and should be in that conversation.
I agree with both of you. I did think G made a really good argument for Chet at the beginning of the year, but now that we've seen them both play, I still think Chet has a very promising career ahead of him, and he's a bit of a freak himself. But I think did you call him an alien? Who called him an alien?
I did.
Yeah. I think you see glimpses of things that we've just kind of really never seen before, and he's just going to get better. The guy is going to be most likely going to be the face of the entire organization in the next 6 to 10 years. So he's a freak. I think it's him going away.
Next award. We got look at this.
Now everybody's on the Shally boat now. All of a sudden,
you're right. We're on the Shally boat. Tyrese Maxey, and especially now with Joel Embiid being hurt, 51 burger the other night versus Utah.
Yep.
Tyrese Maxey's winning Most Improved Player. We're talking about Tyrese Maxey or Jalen Brunson. Tyrese Maxey, like who's starting for the East as a starter? Yeah, that's Most Improved to me. Maxey deserves it halfway through the season. I love his progression. I love what Nick Nurse is doing with him. I don't even think there's really a close second.
I think my second place person for me would be Kobe White with what he's done, how his NBA career started, and now he's averaging close to 20 points a game, especially now with Zach LaVine being out. I do think he will get more shots up, and his numbers could potentially be there towards the season's end. But like you mentioned, with Embiid being out right now and what Maxey is going to do, I have no doubt in my mind that Maxey is going to keep this Sixers team afloat for the next 4 to 6 weeks while Embiid recovers. Now, I'm not saying they're going to bump up and, go be a 4 or 3 seed or anything like that, but I do think Maxey's going to keep this team in playoff contention, and they're going to win a lot of basketball games because he's taking that next step. Like we all thought he would. Bill obviously was the only one that picked him to win Most Improved, but we all thought he would take that next step this year and be an all-star caliber player and, be a great player in this league. But everything he's done this year has been incredible, and I picked him on my fantasy team for a reason. He's been nothing short of phenomenal for me.
Yeah, listen, I thought Nick Nurse was going to be good for him. I thought the bigger thing was him not having to play in the shadow of James Harden and play next to James Harden with the way James Harden likes to play basketball. I think the kid is an absolute superstar. I don't know. There's not enough not enough good things I could say about him. We got lucky with him. You see the kid smile in the picture, and he literally plays the game that way. You listen to every interview; he's grounded. He says the right thing literally every damn time. I hope he's here for the rest of his career, and I think the kid has taken an enormous step forward this year to play next to JoJo, which is not an easy thing to do, and he's still thriving and succeeding. I think this is just as much of a lock as Wemby is to win Rookie of the Year.
All right. Next on the agenda, so we have a different answer here. I love Timmy Hardaway and what he's done with as a Maverick. Tim Hardaway Jr. is absolutely, and he's a lot of the success on that Dallas Mavericks team has to do with what he's doing off the bench. Guy's averaging 18 points off the bench. That's my sixth man of the year. He's played almost every game. When Luka was out, Tim Hardaway Jr. stepped up. When Kyrie was out, Tim Hardaway Jr. stepped up. Love what he's doing down there in Dallas. I got Timmy Hardaway.
I literally picked. I think Malik Monk's been very integral in Sacramento, kind of staying in the top four. Listen, there is no bigger fan of Tim Hardaway Jr. than me. He's a Michigan kid. Loved him forever. I kind of picked Malik just to kind of go against the grain here because I thought you guys were both going to go him. Not going to be mad if Hardaway Jr. wins. I think they're both very comparable in what they mean to their teams this year. And I know a lot of people are giving Hardaway Jr. the edge because, I don't think people realize how long he's been in the league too. And he's kind of stuck it out in Dallas where I think at times he wasn't happy with his role. And then Luka came in and, everything else. But Malik Monk's been great. He's been a huge scoring boost when, De'Aaron Fox and guys are on the bench. And Sacramento's, again, had a great year. We've talked about, obviously, De'Aaron Fox, Sabonis having a great year, all-star selection. But Malik Monk's taking a step forward this year and really giving them consistent minutes and points off the bench. So I went with Monk, but obviously not upset about Hardaway Jr. at all.
It's funny you say that, Bill, because before you said that, I really forgot how long Tim Hardaway Jr. had been in the NBA. He was a part of that Michigan team that lost to Louisville in the national championship game. And
yeah, that's team with Trey Burke. Yeah,
that's crazy to think about. That was over 10 years ago at this point. So, but I got Tim Hardaway Jr. as well for a lot of the reasons that Gene said. He's definitely been a catalyst to that Mavericks team this year because you have had Luka miss some time, you have had Kyrie miss some time, and he is their reliable piece off the bench to put up points. Now, I will say the one thing that kind of worries me moving forward is that I do think Dallas will get aggressive during this trade deadline. So I do think you may see a little bit of dip in production depending on where Dallas decides to go. But as it stands right now, I think Tim Hardaway Jr. is the most deserving of the award.
Love it. All right, so we all have different answers here. And I love the Victor answer. I'll tell you why I don't have Rudy. Rudy is the number one defensive rating in the NBA, right? So, they rate NBA defenders. He's at a 104, which is the lowest in the NBA, which is the lower is better. Chet's at a 108. Everyone else is around a 108, second, third, fourth. My second place for Defensive Player of the Year would be OG Anunoby, and I thought somebody would have him on here. I think he's done a phenomenal job, especially since he went to the New York Knicks and what they've done over there. But the reason I picked Chet is because Chet not only is affecting the game, but his length makes him his length allows him to get to the perimeter, and he's not a liability. The reason I went against Rudy is I can't get that Clippers series out of my head. I can't get it out of my head because although Rudy Gobert puts up great defensive numbers and he should be considered for the award, any team can go five wide, spread him out, and make him look embarrassed. And it's like if I knew that Ryan Gosling's character in Remember the Titans was going up against slow receivers, he'd be a great corner. But I know as soon as I put a fast receiver, He's an absolute liability. And because of that, I went with Chet Holmgren. I think Chet's averaging like 3 blocks a game, a steal a game. Rudy's at 2.2. I love the Victor love. Victor's at 3.4 blocks per game. That's insanity. I just think Chet is able to affect the perimeter more, and he's stealing the ball. He's hitting the passing lanes. I went with Chet Holmgren.
Yeah, I mean, I went with Rudy. I mean, I think he actually dipped a little bit the last 2 years. He's kind of back to where he was in Utah, in my opinion. Not mad at Chet, not mad at Victor. I think they bring a little bit more of the block to the game than Rudy does. I also think you're short-selling a little bit what Rudy does. I mean, there's ways you can expose both Victor and Chet as well if they're playing a smaller big outside. But I don't think there's a wrong answer here. I just went with Rudy. Again, he's kind of back to prime Rudy for me. His rebounds are up. His defensive rating is what it is. I know some people, you can probably poke holes in it, but I think you can poke holes in anybody, any kind of stat for anybody. But I think it's a little bit of a rebound year. I think he's comfortable in Minnesota now. He's kind of playing like he's happy again. I went with Rudy.
I went with Victor here. Victor, with what he does with blocks and the way he alters shots and the way people take them, like in the paint, to me, I think that is what's been the difference for me. And the other thing that I put into account here is that Victor plays about, I want to say 27 minutes a game. He plays very limited minutes for what a rookie normally would. And so for him to impact the game as much as he does, and he's averaging, over 3 blocks a game at this point, for me, that just took him to that next level for me, and I would have him as my defensive player of the year.
Love it. I love the picks, all 3 of them. Understand them. Coach of the year. This is a fun one. All 3 of us have different guys. I see the Chris Finch love, and I get it. It's a half-season award, so I understand it. I think that he'll have the biggest fall off. What Ty Lue has done with that Clippers team, and all those egos, with James Harden coming in, Russell Westbrook, the way he's got him playing, Kawhi Leonard, Paul George, nobody on the team is in the top 35 in usage rate in the NBA. I love what Ty Lue is doing, and now the Clippers are the 1 seed in the West. So to take that team with all the turmoil and the trade and being able to make all those pieces work, I love where the Clippers are headed. I love what Ty Lue has done with that team. And I got to give Ty Lue all the credit in the world, because I don't think there's anybody that's made it work so seamlessly with James Harden and Russell Westbrook. So Ty Lue is my coach of the year right now.
I'm going with Mark Dejoux. I think, Chet last year didn't have him. They still, with as young as that team is and as fast as they've come together, they've had the 1 seed at certain times this year, but they've been in the top 3 pretty much consistently. I don't think people realize how young, obviously other than Shea, but that team is young. I mean, it's Chet's first full year. This is kind of the team that's kind of, I think 2 or 3 years down the road, people are kind of expecting this performance. I think if you're honest with yourself, this team's ahead of schedule. I think you have to give them credit. I know what Ty Lue is done with the egos and everything, but at the same time, he's got 3 superstars on his team. I don't know how much I can weigh that. And Chris Finch, I think, has done a very comparable job to Mark. I agree with Gene. I just think Oklahoma City is going to stay there more consistently than Minnesota is down the road. I'm not a believer in Cad and certain other aspects of that team. Love Anthony Edwards, but I just think with the youth that the Thunder have, they're ahead of schedule. I gave the slight nod to Mark Dejoux for Coach of the Year this year.
Bill, I actually a lot agree with what you said. Ty Lue was he was a close second for me, just given where the Clippers were at, where they were at when they first made that James Harden trade. It took them 4 or 5 games to even win with him on the roster. So the fact that they've won 25 of their last 30, that's definitely huge for me. I went with Chris Finch, though, because for this Timberwolves team, I was not expecting them to be up there at the 2 seed. I was expecting this team to be the 6, maybe the 7th seed, they were a fringe play-in team for me. And what Chris Finch has done with these guys for that first half of the season, I think it is important to make note of. Anthony Edwards is, for me, he's showing that he could potentially be the face of the NBA one day. Like, I think he could be one of those faces that we talk about premiered, every single year on Christmas. You want to see Anthony Edwards play. And I think a lot of that is because Chris Finch is holding those guys in Minnesota accountable. Cat, even after Cat had a 62-point performance, he didn't go to the presser and say, Cat had a great game, things like that. He talked about how they were selfish in that moment, and they played basically, like little league basketball because Cat was trying to go score 70. So
they lost to the Hornets. So
I know, but I'm saying in that moment he could have praised Cat. He had a great game, like 62, nothing to sneeze at. But instead, he held those guys accountable, and I love that mindset that they have. He's not afraid to go out after the game. If it means that he's going to lose $50K, $40K for shitting on the officials when he knows that they were in the wrong, he's more than capable of doing that. Anthony Edwards, he'll go do the same thing. I just love the way that they're playing basketball right now, and I think Chris Finch has got those Timberwolves absolutely bought in.
Give me MVP. Can't wait to get into this. I got SGA. I love SGA. So SGA is averaging over 30 points a game, 6 assists, 5.5 rebounds. He's also 3rd in the league in steals. He's 5th in defensive rating. The guy has been absolutely – and he's averaging a block a game at the guard position. For a team that's tied for the number 2 seed in the Western Conference, got to give SGA all the love in the world. Nikola Jokic is incredible. He hasn't played as many games as SGA has, and I really just love what SGA has done so far this year. I do think that Nikola Jokic will probably end up prevailing at the end of the year, but this is a midseason award. And for the midseason award, I'm giving it to SGA. He's top 7 in NBA defensive efficiency rating. He's number 3 in the NBA in scoring. He's doing it all for a team, and I love what Oklahoma City's doing as a group. So SGA is my runaway right now.
Bill, I'm just going to follow up Gene here real quick because we got the same player here. And I agree with a lot of you said. Gene, one thing that I guess I'll add in here, he's not 3rd in steals. He's leading the league in steals per game. He's at 2.2 right now. He's playing incredible on that side of the ball. The other thing is that Shea's been so efficient this year. Like, if you watch him play basketball, he gets to his spot. It's not like he's just jacking up 30 shots a game. He's getting to his spots. He's being very efficient. Doesn't shoot 3-ball a lot. A lot of mid-range in his game. And he's setting up his guys. Like, that's what I want in a leader. Now, obviously, Joker is incredible. He's always going to put up those numbers. He's averaging close to a triple-double like he always does. But for me, Shea and what his impact is on that Thunder team, where they're sitting at right now as well, I would have to give him the MVP at this point.
I will say this. I would love at the end of the year if you two are right. I think it would be great for – not only does that kid deserve it, I don't think people realize – he's been the best player on that team for 3 or 4 years, and 3 or 4 of those years, they were awful. He never complains. You never see him say a bad word about anybody in the press. He stuck it out and is like, hey, I believe in the long play here, the long run here, and now you're starting to see it. I would love if he ends up winning the award. Love it. I think he's a great kid. He's super talented. I think with Jokic, I think you're starting to see him kind of really that Denver team is the last 2 or 3 weeks has really started to kind of turn it into, I would say the hangover is over, and they're kind of really starting to play Denver Nugget basketball. Jamal Murray's playing a lot better again. And Jokic is kind of really starting to see a lot of 25, 10, and 10 games again. I just think depending on how both these teams close, I think with his past, I hate to say it, you saw it with JoJo, 2 years ago. A lot of guys just, that vote for him, or I think he's going to take a lot of, votes down the stretch, depending how Denver plays. But, I think the feel-good portion would see SGA win, and I would love to see him win. If you told anybody 4 years ago that somebody from the Oklahoma City Thunder is going to win MVP, they'd look at you like you had 7 eyes. But I would, I think Jokic is going to win because I think Jokic is going to play great down the stretch, and Denver's going to end up being the 1 or 2 seed. I don't think OKC is going to finish that high. And like I said, I think it's a lot of writers and voters are just going to end up siding with him like they always do.
All right, well, I love our midseason awards. Next week, we'll break down the All-Star game. we'll have our picks for rookie challenge. But tomorrow we do have the NBA trade deadline. So I kind of want to get. There's obviously been some moves that happened so far. Let's talk about some of the things that we think could happen. So obviously there's been very, very small moves. Like Monty Morris was acquired by Minnesota for Shake Milton, our old buddy Shake Milton. Xavier Tillman was acquired by Boston for like a bag of Doritos.
I actually, I mean, a depth piece though. I think it's kind of an understated, low key, kind of solid move for Boston.
I agree.
I don't disagree. But we want to get some projections, some big moves that could happen. A lot of people think Kelly Olynyk to the 76ers. I would be sick if that happened. They look like they're going to use the assets they got from the James Harden trade to go out there and get a Kelly Olynyk. I'll pass. Alex Caruso, there's a lot of rumors him going back to LA. Andrew Wiggins has been a name talked about, him possibly being moved. There's even been talk about Jimmy Butler. Do you guys think a big player will be moved at the deadline? And what's the biggest move that you see coming out of this NBA trade deadline? Or do you think it's going to be very, very quiet?
I think
Good.
I got Jimmy Butler retiring as a Miami Heat. I think all trade rumors are just fans kind of sparking that interest there. As far as big names go, I mean, I think the biggest player, I guess, in the game, I think could be potentially Golden State. If they really want to make a run at this thing, I think they need to realize that Andrew Wiggins and Klay Thompson aren't going to be your pieces to do that. And so I think for the Warriors, if you want to go out and get some younger guys that can run with Steph and can shoot the ball efficiently, things like that, I think you make a move. You at least get rid of Andrew Wiggins, but I would seriously consider trading Klay Thompson at the trade deadline, see what you can get for him. I don't think Klay is fully washed yet. I think he needs a change in scenery. I don't think he has any confidence left with that Golden State team. I think he fully believes that Steve Kerr's kind of given up on him at this point. And if you're a shooter, everybody knows confidence is going to be key for you. So I think a change of scenery will do him good, and I think he's a player that could potentially be moved. And I really think that the Sixers could be a team that would consider adding that caliber player, where you want to bring in a guy that has championship caliber, like mindset. He's been there before, and a guy to just add in extra shooting to play alongside Tyrese and JoJo.
I mean, they've come out publicly and said they're not going to trade Klay. I think there's a chance they move Andrew Wiggins. I think they're a little bit stuck in. I agree with you. I think if they want to make a run, and I think you move both of them. I think just the sentimental factor of Klay, I think is I think they're holding on to it a little too tight. I don't think they're going to move Klay. There's a lot of people thought DeJounte Murray was going to be a Sixer tonight. There's a lot of talk about that because they downgraded him to questionable, literally within seconds of the Sixers downgrading, Morris and House Jr. I don't know if that's still being worked on behind the scenes. I wouldn't mind that at all to pair him with Tyrese Maxey. A lot of the other things I'm hearing, I don't know if they make sense. I'm with Gene. I don't the only thing, please. I really hope that doesn't happen. And then there's I don't know if Jimmy Butler retires the Heat. I'll be honest with that. I think there's going to be a point where I think they have to take a realistic look of what the East is. I don't think you can say Miami with the way that roster is constructed is any year in year out is not going to be anything more than the fifth or sixth best roster in the East. Boston has both Tatum and Brown locked up. They're younger. The Sixers with JoJo and Maxey and whoever they decide to add, and either this year or the offseason is better. Milwaukee's not going anywhere. I think if you can get decent pieces or draft capital back for him and get that money off your books, if somebody agrees to take all of it, I think you have to consider moving him. I really do. I would love for him to come back here for the next 2 years. I don't know if it'll happen. I know he loves it. He loves playing with JoJo, obviously. I don't think you're getting more than 2 more years of JoJo anyway. I don't know. I don't think there's a big superstar to answer the original question, though.
I do. I think there's two. I actually tried setting you guys up to see if you guys would give me anybody. I think two guys get moved. Two big names get moved. I think DeJounte Murray gets moved, whether it's to the 76ers or the Pelicans. I think the Pelicans are probably the primary landing. I think that's where he ends up falling. And I think that I really believe that Buddy Hield becomes a 76er tomorrow. And I think that there's a lot of guards and a lot of swings and a lot of guys that are in that Indiana Pacers team. And I think Buddy Hield would be the odd man out. He doesn't play a lot of great defense, but he can score. And while JoJo's out, he's a perfect mix, perfect combo for Tyrese Maxey in that backcourt. He's a sniper. He can shoot the basketball. And maybe it's wishful thinking, but I think Buddy Hield is a 76er.
I think that move makes a lot of sense, but I don't know if I'd classify Buddy Hield as like a star. DeJounte, I think DeJounte getting moved and the Pelicans make a ton of sense. I just don't know what it looks like, what they give up for him, just because I know they would want to keep that core together.
Yeah.
I do think Caruso.
I don't think you have to give up much. I think him and Trae Young really don't get along. I think it's pretty obvious.
I mean, I agree with that, but I mean, I also think, if you're Atlanta at this point, I'd almost consider moving Trae Young. I don't think you do it in the middle of the season. I wait till the end of the season and move him and try and get, a shit ton of first round picks and draft capital and stuff like that. But I think Caruso does get moved. I think Milwaukee's going to be the team to look out for there. You want to go after a guy that can play a lot of defense and can shoot the basketball. I think it makes a lot of sense for them. Even if they have to give up a couple first rounds, I think it makes sense to go get Caruso.
I think the one name from Chicago we haven't mentioned, and I wouldn't mind seeing him coming here if we don't have to pay too much for him. I think the Sixers were dead set on getting Levine, with him getting hurt and being done and just another injury. I don't. He's obviously not going to get traded. Everybody keeps talking about Caruso. I think DeMar DeRozan gets traded by tomorrow. I think Chicago's just going to blow that up. I mean, it's obvious now. I wouldn't mind him coming here, playing next to Maxey, with being a guy that can give you 15 to 18, 20 some nights, but doesn't demand the ball. Adds value to the starting four. I don't think you got to pay an arm and a leg to get him. I really don't. Obviously, the Trae Young situation in Atlanta, I think, is very – apparently he doesn't get along with anybody. Doesn't get along with ownership. Doesn't get along with any coaches they brought in there. Doesn't get along with half his teammates. Again, I don't know if you can trade him mid-season. I wouldn't be shocked at all if he's trading the offseason, though. I think Atlanta is dying to get away from him if they can, and kind of just rebuild that whole situation. So that is an interesting situation. I would love, again, I mentioned him a couple weeks ago. I would love DeMar DeRozan if he's a Sixer tomorrow. I really would.
Bojan Bogdanovic is another name to look out for.
It's a good one.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. The Pistons are paying him to score 20 points and be on a losing team. So
yeah, he also has $2 million on the books next year. So he's getting paid $20 million this year and $2 million in the books next year. So he's basically front-loaded contract. He's easy to move on from if you need to. He's an expiring contract essentially. You're probably have to rework his deal, but I like that move. I like that anybody that can move on from him. He becomes an asset.
It's just funny too to think about how far we've come from. At a point, everyone said that the Luka for Trae was the most even deal of all time, and now like no one would ever utter those words.
No. Guys, I've been really looking forward to getting to this question segment, and we're going to do it once a month. And any questions that we don't get to tonight, we will get to next month. We're going to put them on the back burner. I'm going to try to prioritize time-sensitive questions, but I'm going to cheat a little bit. There's one question I love when people ask it. Love it. It's my favorite question of all time. Who is the most overrated quarterback?
I knew that's what this was going to be.
Who is the most overrated quarterback of all time?
I always have the same answer when I get this question. So
go ahead.
For me, it's Brett Favre. I think with obviously his longevity played a big factor why his numbers are as high as they are. But as great of a quarterback as he is, for him to have, one Super Bowl under his belt and him to be still uttering the same names as a lot of these other guys, to me, is just never set right. So I think Brett Favre was very talented, but I just think a lot of people place him in a tier that he doesn't deserve to be in.
So you mentioned there's for me there's three culprits here, and it's hard to just pick one. You mentioned one that I love for all the same reasons. So I think that's a very good answer. You also left out the fact that Brett Favre's thrown more interceptions than anybody in the history of the NFL. Somebody already mentioned one of them in the chat, which is Troy Aikman. I'm going to go with the answer that I usually give for this, though. This guy played for the Pittsburgh Steelers forever. He had the benefit of playing with one of, if not the best defensive group, in the history of the NFL. At one point, they had 8 NFL Hall of Famers in their starting 11 for the defense. Had a great wide receiver, a great running back, a great offensive line. Has a couple rings. And people talk about him like he was as good as Joe Namath and Joe Montana because he won Super Bowls. I'm going with Terry Bradshaw. I don't think it's even close. Guy never threw. Some of the stats he has for passing the football for not good records, bad records. Only throwing for over 200 yards a few times in his career. The credit this guy gets for being a great quarterback, like he won that franchise games over and over, it's just not true. It's just not true. Steel Curtain is probably the best defense ever. Like I said, at one point they had 8 Hall of Famers starting on the defensive side of the football. He had to go out and score 10 points a game to win a football game, and if he did, they were going to win. That's how good that defense was. So for me, it's Terry Bradshaw.
Okay. This is the easiest question for me. I answer the same answer every single time, and it's Troy Aikman. And I'm going to back it up with stats, right? I'm going to read you blind resume of 2 quarterbacks. One has a 94-71 record. He's thrown for 32,942 yards, 165 touchdowns with 141 interceptions in 165 games. That's quarterback A. Quarterback B has played 167 games. He's won 4 more games, 98. He's lost 9 less games, 62. So he's 98-62. So he's won more football games with 37,000 yards passing versus 32, 234 touchdowns to 117 interceptions versus 165 to 141. It's a no-brainer. You go with quarterback B, right? No-brainer. Better win-loss record, more touchdowns, less interceptions, same amount of games, 5,000 more yards. No-brainer. Quarterback A is Troy Aikman. Quarterback B is Donovan McNabb. Okay, you know what? That's not fair. Let's compare him to someone of his era. Let's just do that. All right, here's another quarterback. 94 wins, same as Troy Aikman. 49 losses. Wow, that's 22 less than Troy Aikman. Same amount of yards in, 20 less football games? 232 touchdowns, 107 interceptions. That's none other than Steve Young. Way better quarterback than Troy Aikman. Oh, okay. You know what? Steve Young's great, and you probably have Steve Young ranked ahead of Troy Aikman. Let me compare him to someone of his era that didn't win as much. Let's just go statistical. 131 games, so that's 34 less than Troy Aikman. 27,000 yards, that's 5,000 less than Troy. 154 touchdowns to 113 interceptions, 165 to 141 for Troy. Those stats are very comparable. 30 less games, 5,000 less yards. Same amount of touchdowns, 30 less interceptions. Oh, yeah, that's Jeff George. Troy Aikman stinks. Sorry. Most overrated quarterback of all time. And I come with facts when I bring up this question. No one's debating me. I love it. All right. I want you to rank this question comes from Kyle Edwards. How would you rank the NFL coaching hires? Jesus. Now, this is long, right? I don't want you to go through all 8 of them, right? I don't want you to do that. What I do want you to do is give me your 1, 2, and 3, and then give me your bottom 2. Top 3, Bottom two. We'll just skip the middle.
I can go.
Seattle. Yeah. See, I know Seattle's going to be in my top 3. I know.
So that. I'm going to go. I'm going to stay out west for all of mine. I'm going to go Harbaugh with the Chargers, Antonio Pierce with Vegas, and Mike McDonald with Seattle.
I love that. I love that you did that. I think Harbaugh. Do you want to give me your bottom two?
I mean, we talked about Dan Quinn. I think it's awful. Probably. I mean, I'd probably go Brian Callahan, Tennessee, as my other one.
Yeah, I love that. I love that grade. I love that you put Brian Callahan that low. I don't have him as my bottom two, but he'd probably be third from the bottom. My top one is Jim Harbaugh. He's my one. I love what they did getting him in there. I also love the Antonio Pierce hire. The Las Vegas Raiders finally did something right. Very happy there, and I like Mike McDonald. It almost sounds like we're repeating ourselves. The bottom two for me are Dave Canales for the Panthers. And I don't think it's Dave Canales' fault. I think it's just the fact that no one wanted the Panthers job. No one wanted to work for Tepper. And then if you want to go one below that, I don't have Callahan as low as I have the retread of Dan Quinn. I think it's a terrible hire for Washington. So my bottom two are Canales and Quinn, with Brian Callahan being right above that.
I will say this, too, before Cottrell goes. I almost put Raheem Morris in my top 3 because I do think it's a great hire for Atlanta. So
I don't know if it's a great hire. I think he deserved another opportunity. I think he was kind of shortchanged with his first head coaching opportunity in Tampa Bay based on the situation that he inherited. But I do know that there's been a lot of players that have played for him that have been outwardly outspoken about how great of a coach he was. And he's really put his time in. I think this past year, what he did with that Rams defense earned him a head coaching job, because you literally had Aaron Donald and a bag of Doritos. You had Kobe and a bunch of 6th rounders, and that defense finished top 15 in the league, which to me is incredible. I think the Rams overshot what their projections were.
So then where is your question mark then? Like you said, you don't know about the hire, so I'm confused.
Because he was a head coach prior, he's a retread, and I need to see what he does. I don't have him ahead of guys that have never been head coaches or guys that had proven success as head coaches. Jim Harbaugh has proven success, took a team to the Super Bowl, just won a national championship. I can't put him above him. Mike McDonald's a guy that just really took 2 guys in Roquan Smith and Kyle Hamilton to the next level, and he's a first-time head coach. I have to have those guys ahead of him, right? So, like, I can't put – and then what Antonio Pierce did, it was kind of a 3-4 between Raheem Morris and Antonio Pierce. I have Pierce slightly ahead because he really took an awful situation. And I want to give the Raiders credit for doing the right thing.
I get
Raheem
that.
Morris would be 4th.
I think for me, Jim Harbaugh is obviously going to be the most popular pick here. I think with how talented the Chargers are, with what Jim Harbaugh is going to do there, I mean, I just think that was a match made in heaven for them. 2, again, I told you guys already, I like what Seattle did. I love the Mike McDonald hire there. And then for me, my 3 is going to be Raheem Morris, because I think that Atlanta team is very talented, but I also think they needed a culture change. Like, I didn't like what Arthur Smith was doing while he was there. Like, he didn't believe in his best players. I love that, in his introductory press conference, Raheem Morris said, well, our offense philosophy is going to be to give Bijan Robinson, Drake London, and Kyle Pitts the football. Like, him bringing in, the Rams quarterback coach and Zach Robinson, like, I think they're going to have an identity, and they're going to have a lot of success in a division that's really wide open at this point. So I love that hire for Atlanta. They just need to go out. If they get a quarterback, I think they can run the NFC South for the next 4 or 5 years easy.
I like it. I like your thought process. I have Raheem Morris 4th. I don't have him like that far. I just think I wanted to give the Raiders credit for finally doing the right thing. I got 2 more questions that we have to get.
My bottom 2 real quick. Panthers, Dave Canales. That's easy. I mean, come on. What are we doing there? And then I'm also with Bill on this one. I would say Brian Callahan. I liked what he did with the Bengals, but to get rid of Mike Vrabel to go to Brian Callahan, and I don't know what the thought process is there.
This one's very time sensitive, and I got to ask, and it's from our number one listener for the last 2 months, Derek Dempsey. Hope you're still in the chat. Derek Dempsey asked, is Pat Mahomes already a top 10 quarterback of all time? If not, if he wins Sunday, will he be on that list?
Well, if he wins Sunday, he definitely is. I don't know how you would say he's not now. I'm trying to go in my head. I mean, you see Brady.
He's in the top for me. I just had this argument with someone a couple of days ago. For me, at this point, he's definitely in that top 10. He's got 2 MVPs. He's got 2 Super Bowls. If he wins a third one, assuming that he wins a third Super Bowl MVP, at that point, it's 3 rings, 2 MVPs, 6 straight AFC championships bursts, and he's already been to 4 Super Bowls out of those 6 years. Like, you put that resume up there with a lot of the other greats, he's already surpassed them. Like, as much as I love Aaron Rodgers, if he wins a third Super Bowl and he looks like this, I have to put Pat above Aaron already at this point. Like, I think if he retired today, well,
he's above him now.
He's going to be a first ballot, no doubt about it, Hall of Famer in just 6 years of play.
So before we do this, right, I think the fun thing to do would be to kind of see where we kind of place him. Is that fair? We got a little bit of time. So we don't have him ahead of Brady yet. He retires tomorrow, right? Before the Super Bowl. Something happens, he retires. Because we're asking before this game and then after. We don't have him ahead of Brady or Montana or Peyton Manning.
Or Peyton, yeah.
Nope.
That's easy. We don't have him ahead of Johnny Unitas yet, right?
Or Elway.
You can't have him ahead of Johnny Unitas. Come on, bro.
Okay. I mean, you're comparing to such different football, so it's tough. But, I mean, I'm not going to be mad if people don't have him in front of Unitas.
Okay. So I won't compare him to Otto Graham because of how long ago Otto Graham played, so we'll kind of skip over that. Do you have him ahead of Drew Brees, the guy that's got like the all-time passing yards record?
I do.
You have him ahead of Brees now?
Yes.
Yep.
I don't. Do you have him ahead of Dan Marino, who I think is the best pure passer of the football ever?
No.
I don't either. So that's 6. Do you have him ahead of Roger Staubach?
Yes.
Yeah, I do too.
Yeah.
Do you have him ahead of John Elway?
No.
I don't either. So that's 7. Now, I don't have him ahead of Aaron Rodgers yet. Now, I think that changes if he wins Sunday.
I don't
have him ahead of Aaron yet.
I do.
Okay, so that's 8.
I don't have him ahead of Aaron yet either, but if he wins, it's no doubt about it for me.
Aaron.
Yes.
Troy Aikman.
Yes.
Steve Young.
What? Steve Young. I think Steve Young is probably.
That's probably where he's going to be at. That's where he's at right now.
That's a good argument.
That's 9. If you have him ahead of Steve Young, you have him 9. We kind of agreed on 8, right? You have him ahead of Steve Young, you have him 9.
I mean, I think he's in the. I think he's in the top 10
right now.
I think if he wins,
I said yes. I said yes now.
For me.
I said yes now, and I think, and then if he wins Sunday, I mean, how do you? I mean, you don't have Breeze. You don't have him over Breeze. I don't know how you justify that at that point. And then at that point,
if he won Sunday, I would probably put him ahead of Breeze. But what Breeze did over the longevity of his career, like 74,000 passing yards, is insanity.
I get it, but I mean, you still have to look at what he has left and what he's already done. I mean,
yeah, but the thing about Breeze is like how many. Well, I can't say that because Brady never beat him in the Super Bowl. But like my thought process would be how many Super Bowls was he blocked because of Brady in the league, but he didn't really play Brady, so it doesn't matter. I guess that's not really.
But you look at that Drew doesn't have any MVPs at this point either.
All right, we all have them in the top 10 now.
I do.
Okay,
I probably have. I am higher than both of you guys do.
Yeah, we both have 9. You have 8. It's not really that far off.
Yeah.
All right. Last question, and we'll get into You Got to Be Kidding Me because we got to be quick. You guys got long. You got to be kidding me.
I don't even have one. So
okay, I have a quick one. All right, just last one. I just want to get this one out there because I really like the question and Control loved it. How will Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark fare in the WNBA? I'll start. I think Caitlin Clark could be the greatest WNBA player of all time.
Caitlin Clark is going to be the next. I think Angel Reese is going to be very good. So I'm not. Yeah, I mean, but I guess you already know. She's going to be the next Brianna Stewart. She's going to be.
I thought you were going.
She has the ability to be maybe the best ever, like Gene said. She's going to be a superstar right off the bat, though. Her game is going to translate, and she's not going to have to go to the WNBA and change anything she does. She's going to continue to do what she does now. She's going to shoot. She's going to score a gazillion points. And I think it's crazy to say, but I don't disagree with Gene. I think she has the ability 12, 14 years from now to end up being the best WNBA player ever.
I think she's just different.
I think for me, biggest thing with Caitlin Clark, I think her game, like you said, Gene, I think her game will adapt right away. I think she definitely has the opportunity to win MVP. My bad, Bill. She has the opportunity to win MVP her rookie year. I think that's how special of a talent she is. You mentioned her and Stewie. I think she's going to be, whatever franchise gets her, she's going to be the second coming of what Maya Moore was. She's going to have that kind of impact where she can win 4 championships in 8 years, and whatever team she's on, they're going to have a shot to win it all. Angel, I think she's going to be good too. I just don't think that she's ever going to be the face of the WNBA.
Too. No, and Angel's going to be an all-star probably every year or close to it. She's going to be great. She'll probably be a Hall of Famer. You're talking about Caitlin Clark could be GOAT status. Yeah. And goddamn, I wish Maya Moore never retired.
We got to get in it. You got to be kidding me, Cottrell.
So mine's quick here, and it's about one of the teams in the Super Bowl. So for me this week, San Francisco 49ers already talking about the damn practice field conditions and how much they hated and this and that. Like, really, at this, we're in the Super Bowl. I understand, if you want to talk to people on the side about how much you don't like the turf, that's perfectly fine. But going out and making it this huge spectacle already and building these excuses, like, it's just dumb. So for me this week, San Francisco 49ers.
You gotta be kidding me.
Guys, I love you. This is going to be super quick, and then we're going to wrap up because we got to close the show out. But mine this week is Draymond Green. I love Draymond Green, one of my favorite players in the NBA. Klay Thompson was having a very emotional press conference talking about how he was sat in the fourth quarter and how it feels. And all you hear is Draymond Green, unprompted. I didn't close game 5 of the finals. Who the F cares? And I thought that was one of the worst taste, terrible lines of all time. Draymond Green, you got to be kidding me this week.
You gotta be kidding me.
Real quick, Gene, one thing that I want to say about that is that I felt like Klay low-key needed to hear that. I feel like it kind of made him feel better. Like, after they got off camera, he's like, hey, you made a point there. I feel you.
I get it. I just don't like – I thought it was in poor taste. But thank you guys for tuning in. We'll get to more of your questions next week. Keep playing, propping them in the chat. Thank you guys for listening to Wire2Wire Sports Podcast. I'm the NFL genius, Gene Walzer. That's Kent State's own, Cleveland's own College Control. That's Scholastic Shallion. We are signing out.
Buy a Super Bowl block.
Bye-bye.